What's going on, guys? So today I got some exciting news. I finally finished up my exhaust. I am so stoked. Let's get into it. Now for the M272 platform, everybody usually goes with an X-pipe, which there's nothing wrong with it, but I wanted to do something different. That's the whole point of this channel. I do stuff that nobody's willing to do. So now you may be wondering, what did you decide to go with? And to answer your question, I made myself a double H-pipe. Let me show you how I built it. We're first going to take off the exhaust. Now, getting off the rubber mounts can be a pain. Don't give up. It'll loosen up eventually. For the double H pipe, I decided to go with 2 1/4 inch stainless steel. Stainless steel is really difficult to work with. I ended up snapping a few drill bits as I was trying to drill out my first hole. All right, so I got the hole finally finished, smoothed out, so there's no ridges on it. I did end up ruining part of that first pipe that I'm drilling the second hole on by using a pipe bender, because the original plan was to make the double H pipe, bend out the exhaust to fit the original shape of that exhaust, and then pretty much put it back on as like a catback exhaust, and maybe weld on some mufflers and stuff like that, if that makes sense. But no matter what I did, that pipe bender would not work, and it just kept creasing the pipe. So I gave up on the idea and decided to go with a different route. Now I still had enough length to work with, so I just decided it would be easier to cut off the creased part of that pipe. Ultimately, things worked out in the end for me, which I'm happy about. One thing I forgot to mention is for the holes, I ended up spacing them about 7 or 8 inches apart from each other. For the double H pipe, if you're able to get the balance tubes farther from each other, it would be ideal. But Google told me that 7 or 8 inches apart from each other is perfectly fine and acceptable, and so that's what I decided to go with. Once I got the balance tubes finished, then came the fun part, which is welding. For the welder, I bought a really cheap MIG welder, and it came with a bundle off of Amazon. I'll post a screenshot in the video. Now, overall, this welder held up really nicely, and for the price, you really cannot beat it. Only thing I would really recommend is just buy a high quality wire for it, and you should be good. Finally got the double H pipe tacked up. Welds are kind of ugly, but so far, this should line up perfectly, because if you look at the stock resonator, it has a slight slant to it. If you're new to welding, I would recommend you get yourself a good pair of pants and a good pair of gloves, as everything just gets hot. The other thing I learned with stainless steel is when you're welding it, you want to be careful to not get it too hot, because you will burn right through it. I have no idea how to weld, but so far, this is the best I could do on this cheap welder. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna cut some of the welds off, brush it up, make it look nice. Got my H-pipe finally finished. Although the welds are not the greatest, and I know for a professional job, this is bad. But for a DIY project, it's not terrible. I only really care about how it holds up. I did grind the excess off, stuff like that. I also do plan on using the stock tips from the stock resonator, so that way I can just get that welded on there and then just bolt the H-pipe up like the stock exhaust does, just in case I need to take it off and change out some parts like the drive shaft flex discs or maybe something else. Who knows? All right, guys, so got this cleaned up. Same thing here. Plan is just put them on here, weld it up, and then get it going. Got the double H pipe finally fabricated. As bad as this looks, I still have a sense of accomplishment, because this is my first time. I have no experience. I have no idea what I'm doing, but turned out a-okay if you squint your eyes. I mean, it's not terrible. If you open up your eyes, have a beer or two, that'll look fine. But either way, it's going to be going underneath my car, so no one's ever going to see it except for you guys. So y'all keep your mouth shut. Got the double H pipe installed. I'm using the stock exhaust. Here's a sound clip of what it sounds like with no resonators or mufflers on it. Now, I was pleasantly surprised because it did sound noticeably deeper and had very little rasp to it, but I did want to do something a little bit different, take it up a notch, and instead of using mufflers, I decided to go with 2 resonators at the end. Let me show you what it sounds like. Now, the one thing that did surprise me with, the resonators was they were really quiet at first, but later down the road, because I did drive it around like that unfinished for a few months, they did get louder. So I don't know if that's normal or if, resonators have like a break-in period. Now, the other thing I also wanted to say is if you found me interesting, you watched the whole video, thank you. The other thing I want to mention is I wasn't able to get the exhaust done all in one go, and so I drove around unfinished like that for months. I do work a lot, and so at the end of the day, you gotta do what you gotta do. But here is the second part of this video, so you guys enjoy. Hey, what's up guys? So finally finished up my H-pipe exhaust. I had a lot of stuff going on which delayed me from finishing it, but it is finally done, so let me show you guys what it looks like. All right, so for starters, I got these 3.5-inch tips that are meant for a BMW 335i on both sides. Got a clamp going on because I didn't want to weld it to the resonator just in case if I wanted to change it. I also took the stock hangers off the OEM exhaust, cut them off, welded on here. As you can see, the welds aren't that great. Not a master welder, but A for effort, I guess. Pretty much kept the stock exhaust. Then we got the double H-pipe. And then I also utilized these 2 things off the OEM resonator because I still wanted to be able to take the exhaust on and off. Because a lot of times I'll see people that do get an X-pipe and they'll just get it welded onto the rest of the exhaust so you're not able to take it out. And I personally think that's a bad idea because if you have to replace something like your drivetrain or, a heat shield, you're not going to be able to get in there unless you cut the exhaust off and then re-weld it again, which is kind of annoying. Without further ado, my hood ornament broke off, so I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do with that. I did take up a new project. It's this old Briggs & Stratton 4-horsepower motor that I got off Facebook Marketplace. Finally got it painted. Also got this new box as well, so I can store all my tools and stuff, which is pretty dope. And then, but anyways, before I get carried away, I'm gonna get this thing hooked up to the car and then you guys can hear some sound clips. So now that the exhaust is back on the car, let's go take it for a quick spin. Hopefully sounds good, fingers crossed, but let me know what you guys think. Stop by racetrack. Fuel is $4.60 a gallon for premium. But anyways, a little crooked. I'm gonna get the exhaust adjusted, so that's what it looks like as of right now. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm still new to filming, so still figuring out a lot of stuff. The room that I'm making this video in is a little bit echoey, but hopefully in the future, as I continue building this channel up, I can expand, get some new stuff in, and maybe get a better setup. But in the meantime, you guys have a wonderful night, day, wherever you're located at. You guys take care. Bye.